you walk with open arms towards the sun. You feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause you know.
Welcome to the Bassline. Jenn Anne Mortensen is one of the courageous teachers who stood firm against medical tyranny in the state of New York. Her noncompliance resulted in her being forced to leave the state. She took a massive pay cut in order to continue teaching in the state of Tennessee. I'm proud to welcome to the Bassline the non-compliant Jenn Anne Mortensen. How are you this afternoon, Jenn?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm
Happy
doing.
Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, thank you. Same to you. And before we get started in this important conversation, I want to make a few announcements. We have the next 528 Frequency Jam session scheduled for December 14th. That is a Sunday. And normally we do the last Sunday of every month. But of course, with the holidays in November and December, we said, you know what, let's make sure we have a nice secure date in between those two holiday hot spots on the calendar. And as usual, we're going to open the doors at 3:30 p.m. The music starts shortly thereafter. So please come nice and early, get situated, come meet some fellow medical freedom people who tend to be there and music lovers. And it really has just been a great vibe. We're building it up. And I really ask that you not only experience the music, but help us build up this new scene, because we're welcome into a really warm, welcoming venue, which is increasingly rare in New York City. And the sound is a unique sound, I'd say, between my electric bass and the mbira of Kevin Nathaniel and Hassan Bakar on percussion. It's a unique thing. We really are excited about this new project. Also, please, of course, check out my Substack. I'm humbly approaching the milestone of 2,500 subscribers, which I'm very honored to have 2,500 subscribers, or almost 2,500 subscribers. I'm not sure. I'm like about 7 subscribers shy of that. But I really ask that this community support my efforts and check out my articles. I've written 34. I'm about to release my 35th article. I put out only one article a month, sometimes 2, but generally just one article a month, so I will not spam your inbox. If you subscribe, you're not going to be getting crazy messages from me every day. Just one article, maybe 2 to ponder in the course of a month. And if you could be a paid subscriber, of course, that's greatly appreciated. But if you can't be a paid subscriber right now, like you're saving up for the holiday season or Christmas particularly, that's quite all right. Please become a free subscriber right away. It's nice to have this great community to speak to and to get feedback from, but I want to feel the community. Please be the wind beneath my wings, because I really need it. I'm here. I'm tirelessly producing this content. I host Stop the Shots on X almost nightly, and I've been consistent with my hosting of this program, with the articles I produce. So any level of support that you can share is really appreciated. And of course, you can be an ambassador for this program. Tell people about it. Text people links to the Substack or to the archive of the Bassline. Also, the Bassline is now on YouTube, which I'm really excited to announce. We haven't been censored so far, but all the episodes of this program have been one by one uploaded by a good friend, and it gives those interviews a new life. So please just, sprinkle the links around. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And, of course, you can go to jeremiahhosea.com. You can buy the theme song of this program, Love's the Highest Truth, and other original works with live musicians, God forbid, not computer-generated music, but musicians playing and performing their parts, songs written and arranged by yours truly. And, of course, I'm a chess instructor, so please schedule your chess lesson a day. You get a Bassline discount automatically. Just mention the Bassline, and you get a discount. And I would love to teach you or a loved one, if there are young people in your family, get them, whatever little video game or toy or something that you were going to get them as a present, but say, I also signed you up for some chess lessons. So there's some intellectual content there as well. and something with some lasting benefit. So all that are the various ways that you can support this program, and I appreciate your support greatly, as I am, of course, a father of 2 young children, and trying to keep the wagon wheel rolling, so to speak, here in the city of New York. So all that being said, let's get into today's conversation. We have Jenn Anne Mortensen on the line. Jenn Anne is a medical freedom warrior. She stood up to dehumanizing medical mandates here in New York State. And we try to provide all sorts of perspectives here on the Bassline. I hope you've noticed that. I don't require that my guests conform to any sort of ideological structure or ideological anything. I just reach out to people, ask them if they'll appear to describe their experiences, to discuss their point of view. And I feel that through gathering all these various points of view from the various walks of life, that we can have a better picture of what has occurred, what we need to do next. And I really believe that we can inform each other through sharing our experiences, sharing resources, firsthand accounts, and all the various means by which we educate each other and illuminate these subjects that a lot of people are shying away from, unfortunately. And I think it's our job to continue to be vocal and make people address these issues of bodily autonomy, of what I now term the military medical industrial complex. And there's just so many issues that remain serious issues that are primarily unaddressed. Of course, you have a few outspoken people here and there who are continuing to fight the good fight, but we need to make this part of public discourse. And, for all the various human rights abuses and all the things going on in the world, if we don't have bodily autonomy, it's all a farce. We shouldn't even bother referencing complicated historical references and philosophical references. If we don't have our bodily autonomy, that's it. It's a done deal. I think our freedom, our sovereignty, it emanates from our physical personhood, first of all. So all that being said, I want to ask you, Jenn Anne, to describe basically the circumstances under which you ultimately wound up leaving the state. How did you wind up in Tennessee after teaching in New York City for so many years?
Okay. Well, I taught for 20 years. I started in October of 2000, after the school year started. And my job was great, secure, good observations. I had tenure. I never thought I'd be leaving. Once March 2020 came, things definitely took a downward spiral. I'm prefacing this with the fact that my mother and her husband relocated to Tennessee about 16 years ago. Living on a fixed income, Social Security, Tennessee was an affordable spot. I had no interest in ever joining them there. But when the school shutdowns happened the second time, schools were still open in Tennessee. That was kind of my cue, and that happened in November 2020, to start looking into how I could get my license to teach in the state of Tennessee, which I did. That took a couple of months. Then the following year, March 2021, they still did not have the vaccine mandates on teachers, but I took a trip down to Tennessee. I had spent a lot of time emailing back and forth principals at various schools, just to kind of see what schools were like, what my chances of getting a job were. And I started applying for many jobs, probably at least 20 or 30 rejections that I got via email. Didn't even get an interview. And this was still before the mandates came. Come August 2021, on TV, former Mayor Bill de Blasio makes that announcement. All teachers must comply with this vaccine mandate. And just 3 days prior to that, I got a Zoom interview, was offered a position, and I accepted it. I saw the writing on the wall. We all knew what was coming. And I made the choice before the choice got a chance to find me and fire me. So I packed up. I took a plane, got down here 8 days. My husband and son had to find a moving company and wrap up, so they came down about 2 months later. But it was just a whirlwind at the time. I said, if I don't take this opportunity, I don't know if there'll be another opportunity that's going to come along. So I kind of just took everything, sent a letter to my principal that I'm relocating, and this was in the summer, so school hadn't started yet until after Labor Day. And that's pretty much how I wound up in Tennessee 4 years later. I'm still here.
That's amazing. And I would like to point out that if I'm not mistaken, your sort of run-in with the authorities began not just with refusing the vaccine mandate, but you were refusing testing. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We were shut down from March 2020 until June 2020, the end of the school year. We opened back up October 2020, shut down again November 2020, reopened the following end of February 2021. At that point, Michael Mulgrew, the president of the United Federation of Teachers, made it a mandate that 20% of the staff and students randomly would be pulled and tested every week. Well, I was not going to have any part of that. My principal, I had been put on the list to be tested. I went to her office. I had stacks of articles. I had the Constitution. I had the Nuremberg Code. I had everything I could think of why I should not participate in this test. I said about 2 words. She stopped me. She just said, I'm following my orders. And I'm not a confrontational person, and I should have said a lot more, but I said nothing. She's like, I just don't know what to do with you. I sat in the main office for over 1 hour until she could contact the district superintendent, and I was essentially put on unpaid leave until I complied. I was threatened if I ever refused testing, I'd be punished harsher and longer. I contacted my union representative in the building, and she said there's really nothing that she can do. This is coming from the union. And I was the black sheep at the school. Everybody said it's just a test. I said, I am not a sick person. I was out of work. I also had my medical benefits taken away, my direct deposit. I was basically erased. Any existence of my teaching credentials was completely erased. And ironically, I cracked a tooth that day, and I could not see a dentist because I had no medical insurance. I was out of work about a week. I lost $800 roughly. I came in. I said I have to go back to work. Prayed that I would never be on a list. I was tested 1 time. I cried so hard, hyperventilated. They said, you can't do that. You're going to scare the kids. They never tested me again because I assumed I would have frightened the children with the scene that I made. It was disgusting and disgraceful. And it took so long to get back on payroll, get my medical benefits back, my direct deposit. I spent hours on the phone with the teachers union, emails. This was a lot of work to get back into the system. So, yeah, it was pretty bad. And then I was just basically called every name in the book by teachers. I was told I should die, be denied health care. They were running away from me. I even tried to warn them about the dangers of the vaccine. And they went and complained to my principal. She called me one day on my cell phone, and she said, you can't do this. Like, we're not allowed to discuss politics and religion at work. I can't discuss this. Next time I do this, I could be disciplined. So that was my cue to even try harder to get out of there.
Wow. Incredible
Yeah.
what you experienced and the absurdity of what you're describing. I mean, okay, so we can't discuss politics, but you can just mandate things like an overlord. So if I discuss what you're doing to me, that's so-called discussing politics, which is not allowed. I mean, how ridiculous on its face and how unprincipled in a so-called, free speech society where we're supposedly allowed to speak freely. We can't speak freely about what's being done to us, what's being imposed upon us. I mean, how tyrannical and absurd at the same time. And also, I want to give you a lot of credit for refusing testing. I think that was way ahead of the game, actually, for you to do that. I'm impressed that you had that sort of, I guess, dignity, basically, to refuse that. Because, I mean, first of all, we know the COVID event, whatever we want to make of it at this point, it was based on PCR fraud. It was based on specifically misusing the test invented by Dr. Kary Mullis, using his test in precisely the way he said not to use his test. So that's number one. But then, it also reminds me of Dr. Andrew Kaufman, who I haven't had a chance to interview. I'd like to interview him at some point. I find him interesting. But one thing that stands out to me when I think back on the various doctors who were speaking out against the agenda as it was happening, Dr. Kaufman was the only one who I heard to make this really great point, which was the best thing that we can do right now to resist this medical tyranny is refuse testing. Refuse testing. And, there's a few points there because, for one, I think a lot of people tried to use the test as sort of an easy way out of saying, okay, well, I don't want to get the vaccine, but I'll get tested. No, that's a violation of your sovereignty and your dignity as well. So let's not try to compromise with the tyrants and think that that was a way out, basically. So I think it's great that you stood firm and refused testing. And if more people did that, we'd just be in a much better situation, I'd say, right now. But also just the notion of being subjected to ongoing testing, like a lab rat. And for people to not realize, hey, well, where's this going to go now? I mean, we're just entering a biosecurity society now, constantly being tested, constantly being asked for our vaccine passports, having our temperatures checked every time we enter a space. It was out of hand, and you could imagine that it could get even further out of hand pretty easily as people complied with this and succumbed to this tyranny. So, I really commend you for taking that stance. One thing I would like to ask you about as well is, now that I can't say the smoke has cleared, but now that we've experienced a few years of this post-COVID world, what have you experienced? What have you noticed in the way of vaccine injury and how the vaccines have physically and in some cases mentally affected people? What have been your experiences and observations in terms of that?
Well, some people that I've met or heard stories from, they've gotten breast cancer or various heart conditions. Nobody in my family took it, luckily. My husband's side of the family, they took, and 2 people have died in the past year. The guidance counselor at my school was 57 years old. She passed away. On her obituary, it said, died suddenly of a heart attack. I've seen, and I follow so many other things. I also follow Del Bigtree at the High Wire, all of these other React 19. I've just seen so many different things and heard of so many different stories. I'll meet a cashier in the Walmart, and I'll just tell her why I'm here. And, oh, my uncle took it, my grandfather, he's dead now. So I've heard numerous stories about people either dying or getting injured from this. And it's outrageous. People just want to sweep this under the rug. Nobody's speaking about it, but they're heavily pushing this new flu variant and flu shots and all these other things. It's disgusting how that is out there to try to scare people. And the measles outbreak in this, go get your shots. But luckily, when I watch my local news in Tennessee, for 5 years in a row, parents, the kindergarten rate of childhood, immunizations have gone down significantly. I think a lot of parents have woken up to what has gone on with these forced, COVID vaccines, and then not wanting to get them measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox, whatever they need. And in Tennessee, there's religious exemptions allowed. Not that you should need one, but you can just fill out a very simple form, and your child does not need to get those shots to go to school. Whereas in New York, Cuomo got rid of the religious exemption mandate in June of 2019, and over 26,000 children were kicked out of public school. And they're trying to get those rights back. There's 4 states in this country that do not have any type of religious exemptions.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so
It
terrible.
is terrible.
So New York, California, and what are the other 2?
I think it may be West Virginia. I know Mississippi got it overturned, and maybe Vermont. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Vermont would be a good candidate for that type of thing. But yeah, we should double check. But yeah, I mean, the notion of overturning a religious exemption, isn't that basically declaring yourself to be God? So if my religion just specifies, well, I can't take these types of substances into my body, you can just overrule that? Can you tell a Muslim or a Jew they have to eat pork? You know, I mean, how do you just simply overrule my religion? I'm not trying to go into your home or do anything to impose myself on you, but you, the person imposing this medical tyranny, feel the right to simply overrule my deeply held beliefs, which is, you know, that's tyrannical, that's unacceptable. And I wish more people would understand that plainly.
Sadly, they don't. And almost every single teacher that I know in New York City, their religious exemptions were denied. Michael Caine of New York Teachers for Choice,
right.
He is part Catholic and part Muslim. I don't know. Anyway, they told him, if the Dalai Lama could take it and the Pope, you can take it. Who is anyone to, tell you that? We don't want these shots. But nobody that I know of got a religious exemption to these vaccines. I had a friend of mine. He had history of pulmonary embolisms. His doctor said he should not get this, and they would not accept his medical exemption.
Wow.
Who is anyone to do that? And let's just say he got it, and he died. Who has blood on their hands? When does it stop? No should be no, period.
I totally agree. That's why, we use the term medical freedom for lack of a better term, perhaps. But my most direct way of describing my activism or what I'm standing for through this program and my other efforts is I call this the right to say no movement. And I've specified in my articles that I think we can go ahead and identify no, very simply spelled N-O, as the most important word in the dictionary. Let's firmly have a grasp on that word, and then we can take it from there. Because when you try to save a child's life who's going to plug or put a fork into an electric socket, you scream no. You don't scream yes. No is a life-saving word, and I would actually go as far as to say possibly the most important word in the dictionary. So, it's so outrageous to overrule religious exemption, a medical exemption. I mean, that's outright dangerous. And in fact, pulmonary embolism, unbeknownst to many, is the second leading cause of death in reaction to COVID injections. And the leading cause of death, a lot of people don't know this because myocarditis has gotten more attention. Even turbo cancers have been mentioned. But not enough people understand that renal failure is the leading cause of death, as shown by the record-level data of John Bodwin, who's the author of a book everyone should own, therealcdc.com. And that's one thing that's so crazy when we talk about the harms that have resulted from these toxic injections, is that we have so much proof at this point that these shots are absolutely terrible. And the people who have pushed them and the people who bought into the agenda, they've pretty much chosen to take a blind eye to the whole thing. They'll say, oh, well, that's just your opinion. Oh, well, that's just conspiracy theory, whatever. We're way past that point. We not only have proof, we have several categories of proof. We have the record level source data of John Bodwin, who I just mentioned. I recently interviewed Steve Bennett, who's been doing incredible work in terms of linguistic forensics, noticing this stark increase in the usage of the terms died suddenly. And then, of course, that became so redundant, they said died unexpectedly. Increased usage of the term turbo cancers, aggressive cancers. These are terms that are just being used more than ever before, and it corresponds exactly with the rollout. So, I mean, it's unbelievable how people have put their blinders on and have refused to take a good look at the aftermath of what they have done. It's really, really terrifying. And I would like to know, in terms of sort of the evolution of your own thought process. Actually, before we even get to that, I would love for you to just take a moment to describe some of the differences in attitude about all of this between New York and Tennessee. If you compared the two states now in your experience, what's the difference in attitude that you've come across?
There are so many teachers here. This is my third school that I've worked at in 5 years. And every teacher that I've met or any staff member that's asked me why I moved, I told them, and they are in disbelief. They said that would never happen here. And if it did, we would walk out. Everybody is taking that stance, like nobody's going to tell us what to do. Like they automatically would band together. They would walk out. We don't have unions here like they do in New York City, but everybody said I wouldn't stand for that. That would never fly here. That is everybody's comment. That would never fly here. So it's refreshing to know that I'm living in a state where everybody that I've met would stand for their, choices in medical freedom. And they said it should be a choice. I said, I agree. And they're just in shock when I tell them they're like, look at me like a deer in headlights. That's the reason you left. I said, yep, exactly. I didn't choose to pick up and move and make a lot less salary or have to work 2 jobs to survive or uproot my whole lifestyle. And I just don't understand at the same time that I was not allowed in the classroom in 2021 up until 2023 when Adams got rid of the mandate. I'm teaching in Tennessee, perfectly fine, not one sick day, not one sniffle, nothing, but yet I can't teach in New York City. And everybody in Tennessee is wide open. They don't buy into any of this fear-mongering. Lives are normal. Kids are gathering. Kids are playing. My first day teaching, August 2021, I got so emotional just to see these kids going outside and playing and sitting together. In New York City, 6 feet apart the desks and sanitize and, all these HEPA filters and just put the fear of God in them that they can't breathe, touch each other, sanitize every single thing that they touch. Life is so different here. Nobody's afraid. Nobody's closing down their businesses or their schools. Everything's wide open, and every teacher went about business as normal. I think they might have been shut down for a month or 2, but then they were open. And the governor of Tennessee said it's a child's choice. If they want to wear a mask, there was no mandate to do anything.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, amazing and admirable. And it sounds to me like us northern city slickers have a lot to learn from these southern folks who just seem to have a better concept of dignity, bodily autonomy, the right to personal choice, all of these things. I mean, wow, when did New Yorkers become so obedient and compliant and non-thinking and, a lot of other negative descriptions that I could apply after experiencing all of this. A lot of us have gone through, personal sort of awakening in various ways. I have stated on this program, I was not an anti-vaxxer at the beginning of all this, and I made that clear on this show because I wasn't versed enough to call myself an anti-vaxxer. At a certain point, after hearing what people had to say on these airwaves, I said, you know what? I'm going to be honest and realistic and say I'm an anti-vaxxer at this point, actually. And now I've actually transcended that title. I'm a vaccine abolitionist at this point. And that's been my personal evolution. But then there's also, just this broader issue of this global, whatever you want to call it, this global agenda that seems to have been unleashed. I'm sure it was preceding COVID, but COVID was the next phase of the game in terms of this sort of global agenda that was unleashed on the global public. And I wonder if you have thoughts about this sort of global technocracy, what I term the biosecurity state. A lot of people make the obvious connection between what happened during COVID and the vaccine passports and all that nonsense to the threat, the very real threat of central bank digital currency, social credit system, which I would argue is already being implemented through the existing social media. I mean, you have people losing jobs because they made a joke on social media or because AI flagged some comment that they made, which was made in jest. But these computer systems that are analyzing and critiquing us, they don't have a sense of humor. They don't know what sarcasm is. They don't understand these things, and then it has a permanent effect on our reputation, on our jobs. What are some of your thoughts about the way the world is shaping up in light of what we just experienced?
Well, when they first announced all this, I didn't buy into this for 1 second. I said, something's wrong. Something doesn't add up. When they said we had to go remote, and just sitting at home behind a computer, watching other black screens or kids just being in isolation, my first thought was they want to dehumanize us. They want to, not have the kids socialize. They're trying to prepare them for just some, like the Jetsons, some far in the future thing where a kid sits behind a computer and gets an education. They're priming the kids for that type of education, not being in a brick and mortar school. And then shutting down businesses to destroy society, to usher in the New World Order or Agenda 2030, where you'll own nothing, be happy, everything's chosen for you, what type of food you're going to eat, what you're going to read. And all of that just, it seems so like you might see this in a science fiction movie. I don't watch science fiction movies the same
Who needs
at
to?
all.
Who needs to watch any science fiction movies, right? It's our lives now.
Exactly. And that whole, that you can't travel, you can't go to certain places without your, showing your papers, brought back what they did, in Germany.
Yeah.
Show me your papers. And I just equated all of that with control, and they just want to get rid of our identities. They want to make everybody little robots, not have any critical thinkers, not have kids socialize. I know it was so dehumanizing and demeaning. I absolutely hated sitting at home, even though I was getting a paycheck. I said, this is not teaching. And when they shut down the schools a second time the following year, when I found out they were open in Tennessee, I said, I need to get out. This is prior to the mandate. I said, I've been teaching 20 years in a live classroom with kids. I don't want to sit at home. This isn't me. So I just thought their whole agenda was just to take away every aspect of humanity. And these show me your papers thing. You can't eat a slice of pizza, but you could go to the suburbs, go sit in Long Island. You're fine. You can't do this in the 5 boroughs of New York City. Why? Why am I any more dangerous sitting in Manhattan versus Yonkers or Jersey or someplace? It was just outrageous. So I also felt that these shots that they were offering, which they were offering financial bribes, French fries, free Krispy Kreme donuts, $100 to take these shots, a free Metro card, a free lottery ticket, were ridiculous, and that people should have seen. If you have to bribe, threaten, coerce, shame, and all the propaganda on TV and the commercials nonstop, there's something that they want you to have in this shot that's going to alter your DNA. And people thought I was crazy when I said that. I said, why else would they be pushing this? They've never pushed any shot in my lifetime as hard as this one. So I just thought it was to take away our humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said. Kevin, I don't know what's going on, but folks are trying to call in, and it says all lines are busy. I don't know if we're having an issue with the phone.
They're trying to call in, but every time I pick up, they hang up.
Okay.
Hang on. We have another one coming in right now.
Okay, so yeah, we'd love to hear from you folks. 888-874-4888 if you have a question for Jenn Anne Mortensen. We'd love to hear it, or if you just want to commend her for her courage, we welcome that as well. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So, Jenn Anne, where do you stand right now? I mean, is this something that you have kind of tried to put behind you as you sort of, had been forced to resituate your entire life in a totally different state and totally different culture and environment? Or are you do you consider yourself actively involved in the medical freedom struggle, the human dignity movement, whatever you want to call it? Or have you been inflamed by this, and is your flame still burning, or how are you on in terms of that?
Well, luckily there are no mandates here in Tennessee, so I don't have to fight. But I'm in contact with a lot of people in New York that still live there and that have lost their jobs and their homes and had to relocate, and it makes me upset. I mean, emotionally, mentally, I can't forget about this. Not one day goes by where I'm like, I don't miss some aspect of living in New York or my job, whether it be the conveniences of getting around or the diversity of the food or the shopping or just my home, my culture. It's been hard to kind of adapt. I really don't have many friends here like I did in New York. And I miss a lot of what's at home. And I do speak up because I don't think freedom is free. And it's not true that, in my opinion, this is a free country.
Right.
If it was, why couldn't I work in New York City?
Right.
Why was I deemed a danger? Why were 2,000 teachers fired? Police, sanitation, healthcare workers. Why did so many people lose their jobs over their, bodily autonomy choices? So I still follow what's going on, and it's never going to. I'm never going to forget about it.
Yeah.
But if, God forbid, anything ever comes down the pike, I'm ready to fight again. Right. I will never comply. I will stand up for what I believe in and something that I don't want. I'm not, buying into that I need this shot. If I don't want it, I should not be forced to take it. Nobody tells us what to eat, what to drink. They should not tell us what to put into our bodies to keep a job, to go to a museum. That's outrageous that parents could not visit their children's school unless they were vaccinated.
Yeah.
You couldn't see your child graduate or be in a play or a concert. That to me is just ludicrous.
Yeah, it is ludicrous, and it's a double outrage to me, because there's the outrage of even imposing these policies, and then the outrage of pretending that this is not a total assault against people, and to pretend that it's some sort of small potatoes that people are being forced out of their jobs of many years. I too was a teacher, an extracurricular teacher, for would have been 20 years, and lost my job for refusing dehumanizing medical mandates, or resisting them, I should say. So, for people to pretend, oh, that's no big deal, you just lost your job, oh, you just lost your career, oh, you're on the verge of homelessness. And some people were actually forced into the homeless shelters as a result of this. So many transgressions, children, young people being forced to take these experimental toxic shots to participate in after-school activities. I mean, just the list is endless of just the number of just egregious violations. And for people to act like, oh, that's no big deal, we just did what we had to do at the time, totally disregarding the completely ineffective nature of these products, the harmful nature of these products. But, again, the initial violation of people's rights and overruling people simply saying, no, I don't want this put into my body.
Just to be told you have to do this should be cause for concern. And I just don't understand why Kyrie Irving and all the entertainers, they had their mandates taken away in March of 2022, 1 year prior to teachers and the public sector. So Adam said, we have to generate money for the city so he can go play unvaccinated. But yet I still couldn't be in a classroom, or my friend couldn't collect garbage, or somebody couldn't put out a fire or patrol the streets because they still were choosing not to get this shot.
Right.
But you can go see a basketball show, you can go see a play, the entertainers, and
well, I think that maybe he was able to play, but I think you weren't able to get tickets unless you were vaccinated. So he could, but I mean, I appreciate the point that you're making there in terms of the double standard, but I just think we shouldn't even engage in that type of reasoning in a sense. Because Kyrie Irving stood up against this stuff, and I wish more people did. And you shouldn't need to take a stupid injection or any invasive medical procedure to go about your daily business and to earn your livelihood. Let's leave it at that, rather than like splitting hairs over, the timeline and all that stuff. Although I do totally understand your point that it is interesting how the rank and file people really get the heel of the oppression. And, you can sort of work your way around it if you're a celebrity or a millionaire or, whatever. We have some callers on the line, and actually I'm really excited. My good friend and well-known medical freedom fighter, Harry Fisher, is on the line. Harry, how are you, brother? Thanks for calling.
Doing good. Nice talking to you, man. Thanks for having me on. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I did, man. It was nice. It was really nice spending time with the family. How are you, brother? How are you today?
Doing good. Just dropped my kiddos back off. Got to have them for Thanksgiving. Had them this week. They were out of school, so got off work, went and picked them up, and we had a good time. Put up the tree and did all the things. And I was just listening to y'all talk about all the things that we've gone through to get to this point now. It is pretty mind-boggling how much tyranny we've allowed for in our lives. And that's what it is. It's tyranny. Whenever someone demands you take a substance that you don't want and put it into your body, or else you can't work, or else you can't feed your family, or else you can't go to a game. That's tyranny. There's no other real way to put it.
Yeah.
And we put up with it. We allowed it. It's a testament to how peaceful of a society we've actually become as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. There's still aspects of our society that will rage and do stupid things, but as a whole, we took that right on the chin, and we still are.
Yeah.
We're still taking it. I'm pretty amazed at how we've done it. Now, I do hope that eventually we stand as a nation, as a world, against these types of tyrants, because we're going to have to. They're not going to stop. It's not going to go away. They've seen how many, like you said, rank and file people will stand rank and file for the worst things imaginable. And now that people are dying suddenly, what for the last few years died suddenly has become just normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal now for kids to die suddenly. It's normal now for people to fall on stage and die of heart attacks and strokes at 30 years old, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we heard TikTok star dies of a heart attack?
Every day.
That didn't happen until these shots came out, brother.
Yeah.
It's wild. And working it firsthand and seeing it, I'm not numb, but I'm as close to numb as I've ever wanted to get. As a paramedic, you get fairly numb to things, just because of the things we see.
Survival mechanism at that point, right? Can't take it all in
much.
too deeply. You wouldn't be able to handle it, I would imagine.
Yeah, so you've got to get a little, not dead. You don't want to become dead inside. A lot of people do. But you do have to, file it in a different filing cabinet, per se. And this is, my filing cabinet is overflowing. It's just too much. There's what we've gone through, what they've put me through personally, and y'all. But telling me that I can go work during COVID, and I worked during COVID, work in New York City, work in the COVID wards. And then they tell me after all of that you've got to take this shot that you've seen kill people firsthand. You've seen this kill people, Harry. You've done the CPR right after they've taken their shots, but you have to put this into your body if you want to feed your family. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And that just it's so sick. It's so twisted. It's demonic. And this kind of demonic world view that you have to worship at the altar of vaccines or gene therapy, because we have to change the term vaccine to encompass gene therapy now because we're really experimenting on the entire public. It's a cult, and they will murder our children. They'll murder your children for their cult. And if you don't have utter faith, complete utmost faith in their science, they will ostracize you from communities. And eventually they'll do far, far worse if all these terrible demonic people have their way.
Yeah.
Currently on X, I have doctors calling for me to get fired because I said vaccines kill children and cause brain damage.
Mm-hmm.
Cause children to have brain damage. Those are factual statements. Those are true.
Mm-hmm.
My own son got brain damage, became autistic after receiving his childhood vaccine. I watched it. I lived with it. I'm going to have to take care of my son for the rest of his life, which I'm good to do, but it really is annoying knowing that a pharmaceutical company did this, and I am doxxed, and my job is threatened for pointing out what they did to my own son.
Yeah.
And I'm just one person of thousands upon thousands of parents, because we've been harmed. Not only our kids have been harmed, but we've been harmed. They harmed all of us by doing this to our children.
Mm-hmm.
They harmed us as a nation. They harmed us as a world. And at some point, we're going to have to stand up to that. At some point, we're going to have to stand up to all of these people that want to transhumanize the entire world, be it transgender, transhuman, trans whatever. We're going to have to stand up to these psychopaths and kick them out of their jobs like they've done to us. We're going to have to make sure they are not the ruling party.
Yeah.
What we've seen during all this cancel culture is them being the ruling party, and us just back.
Oh, we lost her. Oh, there you go.
We need to be done with that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you cut off for a second, but I hear you now. So yeah, I amen to everything you're saying, brother. I mean, if you're not familiar with Harry Fisher, he has been a guest on this program. We become good friends. I check in on Harry. He checks in on me, and yeah, he's an outspoken warrior for medical freedom, and he's an author of a book, which I think is an important book. Everyone should get a copy because there's a growing canon of COVID truth books that are out there, but he's the only paramedic that I'm aware of who's been as outspoken as he's been and has actually put a book together compiling his experiences. What's your book title again, Harry, and how do people get a copy of your book?
Safe and Effective for Profit, a paramedic story exposing American genocide. You can find it on Amazon if you want to get it there, but I'd appreciate it if you go to fishersbook.com, FISHERS book.com, fishersbook.com. Like he said, I basically journaled through all of this, and you're reading my journal there. You're reading everything I've collected, this information that I could find on these shots, and my friends are in that book. I mean, I've interviewed Mary Talley Bowden, Steve Kirsch, Dr. Jim Thorpe. Just basically, I got a hold of all my friends who are also fighting. The doctors that I could find, and hey, you guys, I need to talk to y'all, interview you, put you in my book, because you're not only going to be reading my journaling, what patients I've seen fall to these shots, but you're also going to be reading poetry. Just imagine a paramedic that's been kicked around and they tried to force giving a toxic substance to, and I wouldn't take it, and you're reading the journal of that. That was all of my experiences. But yeah, I appreciate you plugging my book. I'm always called a grifter for writing a book.
Oh, that's nonsense.
They can take my job, tell me I can't feed my family, but I'm a grifter if I sell a book for a little over cost.
Yeah, I mean, I hardly even like to even dignify that ridiculous comment because they're so concerned about so-called grifters and have no concern about criminal corporations with felony backgrounds making hand over fist profit while injuring and killing. I mean, it's just farcical. It's almost not worth responding to. But brother, it's great to hear from you. I'm going to call you when we get off the air.
I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, please give me a shout. I want to pick your brain on a few things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, if you're going to go on live tonight, I'm going to see if you're going to go on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hope you can join. I'll call you shortly, brother. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, later, bro.
Talk to you in a minute.
Yeah, I'd love to check out his book.
Yeah, seriously. There's a growing canon of medical freedom literature, anti-vax literature. We've had some of these great authors on this program, including Harry. I also recommend therealcdc.com is where you get the book, The Real CDC by John Bodwin, also a two-time member of, or two-time guest, I should say, of this program. We have as well Mark Girardeau, who I had the honor of meeting in Florida at our Thrive in 25 event hosted by my co-host and good friend C.C. Blakeman. He's the author of the book The Needle's Secret, which introduces a very compelling and I think important new theory called the bolus theory, explaining the mechanisms of vaccine injury. And there's more and more truth coming out, and it's our job to be purveyors of truth, to support these efforts and to spread the word, and just to force people to think about these things we've been told not to think about and not to speak about. We're almost out of time. We just have a couple minutes here. I would like to, first of all, just thank you for your courage and for being outspoken. Jenn Anne, you're commendable in what you've done, and I'm so honored you took the time to talk with me here today. What are some of your final thoughts as we just have a few minutes here? Is there anything you'd like to impart on our audience before we have to close it down?
Yeah, thank you. Just that nobody should be pressured to doing something that doesn't feel right. And if it doesn't go with your gut, I just can't believe how many compliant people and non-critical thinkers are out there. I've spoken to so many people in New York. Well, I needed my job. I needed this. And there are more people that I know that never wanted this shot, but just did it. I said, well, I needed my job too, but I was willing to take a stand. I think if more people had held the line and fought harder, then, Bill de Blasio couldn't have gotten away with this, or, any other politician. I mean, firing all the military. People need to stop and critically think and say, why are they offering us money to take this? Why is this such a big thing? And I agree with what Harry said. It's become a cult, and people changing their profile pictures. And it's just, that's disgusting to see this level of, I've never seen this in my lifetime. Conformity. Nobody's ever talked about anybody's medical status, but it's such a rite of passage. You got your vaccine, your booster. Now let's go post about it on Instagram, Facebook, X, wherever. I've never seen this. Nobody ever discussed. Did you get your mammogram? Did you get your, dental cleaning? None of these procedures. Nobody's ever talked about this. So, and it's not been easy, and it does kind of follow me everywhere I go. And I kind of let people know what happened so that they can be prepared should it happen anyplace else. Hopefully it won't in this lifetime, but I fear that they'll try something else. Yeah. I don't know what, but we have to stand for what we believe is right. Don't want to put it in your body. Don't take it. Stand together. Don't conform.
Great. I love what you're saying here. You made a lot of outstanding points. And one thing that I'll always remember from this interview is I love the fact that you pointed out that this isn't a free country. We love to claim that. It's a great thing to say, but let's just face the reality of it. If this is what happened to people, it's not a free country after all. That's too bad. It would be nice if it could be a free country at some point, but let's deal with the reality and not just with the fanciful concept. I'm getting messages as well that we'd really like you to join us on our Stop the Shots discussions at night. I'm not sure if you have an X account or if you're active on X at all, but it would be worth starting one just to tune into our group, Stop the Shots. We're actually, when I checked this morning, we're 8 members shy of 5,000. So if you guys haven't joined the Stop the Shots community, please do. We'd love to hear from you. We're a growing community. We bring in all sorts of experiences and perspectives, great medical freedom doctors. We call them the right docs of history. They stop in periodically. We have the vaccine injured. We have all sorts of folks sharing their experiences and sharing information. And please consider joining that group. And
I will definitely check that out.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Okay, that would be great. I just wanted to add that there's somebody who works at my school that actually loves New York City. She's from Tennessee. And she says, my goal is to move to New York City. I said, well, with the incoming new mayor, we never know what's going to happen. She goes, oh, it doesn't matter who's mayor. I said, oh, yes, it does. I said, that's why I'm here, because of what 2 mayors ago did to my job. So people are just not aware that live anyplace else how one person's authority can ruin your job, your livelihood, your ability to feed your family, or just go out to a movie theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And it was amazing as well.
They need to know.
They do need to. And we are out of time, but I just want to say, it was amazing how de Blasio first, and then Eric Adams just came in and just handed the medical tyranny baton off from one to the other. Just two stooges for medical tyranny. And it's like, who's giving these people their orders? Because these are not leaders. These are puppets, clearly, that are carrying out an agenda. But I'd love to continue the conversation. We're flat out of time. Please, everyone, spread the word about this program. We really need your support. We need people to keep their gusto and keep fighting on behalf of bodily autonomy, medical freedom, the right to say no, because these issues, they're still right on the table. They have not gone away, and they're not going to go away. We're going to have to face this head on. So everyone have a great weekend. Thank you, Jenn Anne, for joining me. Really appreciate it. Stay strong. Keep fighting the good fight. And see you next week. Peace and love, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.